Hi, everyone. Welcome to our program on the issue of child abuse. We all know that children thrive and develop when the environment is positive and when they get their protection and all the love they need. But unfortunately, not all the children get all these protection and love and all positive environment. The recent event in Sri Lanka has spotlighted for us how much child abuse and child labor causes problems and how the children are affected these days. So to discuss all these today, we have Sister Saroja Paulraj and Harshana who is an attorney at law with us today, and then they'll discuss in Tamil and English. And if you have any questions, you'll be given time, and then you can type it up, and they will be able to answer. And I'll say this in Tamil as well. குழந்தைகள் வளர்வதற்கு பொருத்தமான சூழலும் அவர்களுக்கான அன்பு, பராமரிப்பு, பாதுகாப்பு என்பன அளவிலாது கிடைக்க வேண்டும். அதுவும் இளம் பருவத்தில் அவர்கள் இது கிடைத்தால்தான் அவர்களது வளர்ச்சி பூரண பெறும். அது இல்லாமல் இப்போது சிறுவர் துஷ்பிரயோகம் என்பது பரந்த அளவில் இலங்கையிலும் உலகளாவிய ரீதியிலும் காணப்படுகிறது. இலங்கையில் அண்மையில் நடந்த சில சிறுவர் துஷ்பிரயோகம் பற்றி நீங்கள் கேள்விப்பட்டிருப்பீர்கள். இது பற்றி கலந்துரையாடுவதற்கு விமென்ஸ் ஃபார் ரைட் அமைப்பின் தலைவி சரோஜா பால்ராஜும் ஹர்ஷன நாணயக்கார இவர் ஒரு லாயர், இவரும் உங்களுடன் இன்று கலந்துரையாடலில் ஈடுபட இருக்கிறார்கள். அவர்கள் பேசியதன் பின்பு உங்களுக்கு ஏதாவது கேள்விகள் இருந்தால் கேட்பதற்கு உங்களுக்கு நேரம் வழங்கப்படும். Sister Saroja Paulraj, this is for you now. Your turn. Thank you.
முதன்மையாக நான் எனது நன்றியை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கின்றேன் இந்த சந்தர்ப்பினை வழங்கியமை பற்றி. நான் நினைக்கின்றேன் உங்கள் அனைவருக்கும் தெளிவாக கேட்கதாக இருக்கலாம். நான் இன்றைக்கு உரிமைகளுக்கான பெண்கள் அமைப்பின் UK கிளையும் இலங்கையும் ஒன்றிணைந்து நடத்தப்படுகின்ற சிறுவர் துஷ்பிரயோகம் தொடர்பான இந்த இலங்கையில் அண்மை காலத்தில் நடந்த சிறுவர் துஷ்பிரயோகங்கள் சம்பவங்களை அடுத்தடுத்து நாங்கள் தீர்மானித்திருக்கின்றோம். இந்த சிறுவர் துஷ்பிரயோகம் என்பது எவ்வாறு நடக்கின்றது, அதற்கான உரிமைகளுக்கான பெண்கள் அமைப்பு என்ற ரீதியாக எங்களுடைய தீர்வுகள் என்ன, நாங்கள் இலங்கையில் மேற்கொள்ள வேண்டிய நடவடிக்கைகள் என்ன என்பதை பற்றி நாங்கள் சிறிது கலந்தாலோசித்துக் கொள்ள நாங்கள் நினைக்கின்றோம். இதில் நான் சமூக பொருளாதார முறைமைகளை பற்றி எனது கருத்தியலை நான் வெளிக்கொண்டு வர நான் விரும்புகின்றேன். அதற்கு பிறகு ஹர்ஷன நாணயக்கார அவர்களால் சட்ட ரீதியான இதற்கு மேற்கொள்ள வேண்டிய தீர்வுகள் என்ன, சட்ட ரீதியாக நாங்கள் இலங்கையில் மேற்கொள்ள வேண்டிய நடவடிக்கைகள் என்ன என்பதை பற்றி அவருடைய பூரண விமர்சனத்தை அவர் வழங்குவார் நான் நினைக்கின்றேன். நான் எனக்கு கிடைத்திருக்க காலத்துக்கு உட்பட நான் எனது கருத்துக்களை நான் வெளிப்படுத்த விரும்புகின்றேன். ஏனென்றால் இந்த ஆரம்ப காலத்திலிருந்தே இந்த இலங்கை எடுத்துக்கொண்டோம் என்றால் ஒரு நிமிஷம் எனக்கு தேவைப்படுது, நான் அதுவரை நாங்கள் பேசிக்கொள்வோம். சிறுவர் துஷ்பிரயோகம் என்பது எங்களுடைய சிறுவர் துஷ்பிரயோகம் என்பது எடுத்துக்கொண்டோம் என்றால் நாங்கள் முதன்மையாக நினைப்பது இது பாலியல் ரீதியான துஷ்பிரயோகங்கள் மாத்திரம் என்று தான் நாங்கள் நினைக்கின்றோம். ஆனாலும் இந்த சிறுவர் துஷ்பிரயோகம் என்பது உண்மையாகவே எடுத்தோம் என்றால் அது பாலியல் ரீதியான துஷ்பிரயோகம் மட்டுமல்லாமல் பல விதமான துஷ்பிரயோகங்கள் நாட்டில் நடக்கின்றது. அந்த துஷ்பிரயோகத்தின் உட்பட துஷ்பிரயோகத்தில் நாங்கள் எடுத்தமென்றால் அந்த துஷ்பிர வகையிலான குழந்தைகள் எவ்வாறான சூழ்நிலையில் இருந்து வருகிறார்கள், அவர்களுடைய அண்மை காலத்தில் உள்ள அவர்களுடைய கல்வி திறன்கள், படிப்பு அறியாமை போன்ற காரணங்களினால் தான் அவர்கள் இவ்வாறான இடங்களுக்கு தள்ளப்படுகிறார்கள். அது மட்டுமில்லாமல் நான் நினைக்கின்ற சிறுவர் துஷ்பிரயோகத்தை தடுக்கும் எங்கள் தீர்வுகள் என்று நாங்கள் முன்வைக்க விரும்புவது என்னவென்றால் அதில் என்ன இந்த சிறுவர் துஷ்பிரயோகம் சிறுவர் துஷ்பிரயோகம் என்றால் என்ன என்பதை நாங்கள் எடுத்து பார்க்கும் போது உண்மையாகவே இது நாளுக்கு நாள் அதிகரித்து வருகின்ற ஒரு நிகழ்வாகத்தான் இருக்கின்றது. இந்த சிறுவர் உரிமைகள் பட்டயத்தில் பட்டயம் அல்லது சமுதாயத்தில் 1991 ஆண்டு தொடக்கம் இலங்கை அரசாங்கத்தினாலும் அங்கீகரிக்கப்பட்டிருக்கின்றது. அதில் 18 வயதிற்கு குறைந்த அனைவரும் சிறுவர்கள் என கருதப்படுகின்றார்கள். 18 வயதிற்கு குறைந்த அனைவருமே, அதாவது 18 வயதிற்கு குறைந்த அனைவருமே நாங்கள் சிறுவர்கள் என்று கருதும் போது நாங்கள் விளங்கிக் கொள்ள வேணும், ஆண்களும் பெண்களும் இருபாலாருமே சிறுவர்கள். இப்பொழுது நாங்கள் பேசும்போது சிறுவர் துஷ்பிரயோகம் என்று பேசும்போது நாங்கள் பெண் குழந்தைகள் முகம் கொடுக்கின்ற பிரச்சனைகளை மாத்திரம்தான் நாங்கள் கருதுகின்றோம். ஆனாலும் ஆண் குழந்தைகளும் இவ்வாறான துஷ்பிரயோகங்களுக்கு முகம் கொடுக்கின்றார்கள். அவர்களையும் நாங்கள் இதில் கருத்தில் கொள்ள வேணும் என்பதை நான் விளங்கிக் கொள்ள விரும்புகின்றேன். அது மட்டுமில்லாமல் சிறுவர் துஷ்பிரயோகத்தில் போது இந்த ஆண் பெண் இருப்பாராகும், அது மட்டுமே நாங்கள் முக்கியமாக பேச வேணும். ஆண் குழந்தைகளும் ஆண் சிறுவர்களும் இவ்வாறான துஷ்பிரயோகங்களுக்கு நாளுக்கு நாள் முகம் கொடுக்கின்றார்கள். பாடசாலைகளிலும் ஏனைய இடங்களிலும் இவ்வாறான துஷ்பிரயோகங்கள் நடக்கின்றது. இலங்கை எடுக்கும் வகையில் எடுத்துமென்றால் 18 வயதுக்கு கீழ்ப்பட்ட அனைவரையுமே நாங்கள் சிறுவர் என்று நினைக்கும் போது அது கட்டாயப்படுத்தப்படாது. அதாவது இந்த சட்ட ரீதியாக தண்டனை சட்டக்கோவையின்படி நாங்கள் 14 வயதுக்கு கீழ்ப்பட்டவர்களைத்தான் சிறுவர்கள் என்று கருதுகின்றோம். பாடசாலை கல்வி, கட்டாய பாடசாலை கல்வி எடுக்கும் போது அந்த திட்டத்தில் கீழ்ப்படைய 16 வயசுக்கு உட்பட்டவர்களை மாத்திரம்தான் கட்டாய கல்விக்கு உட்பட்டப்படுகிறார்கள். ஆகையால் 18 வயதுக்கு கீழ்ப்பட்டவர்கள் அனைவருமே, குறைந்தவர்கள் எல்லோருமே சிறுவர்களாக கருதிய போதிலும் அந்த வயது நிர்ணயத்தில் சில மாற்றங்கள் இருக்கின்றது. ஆகவே அதால் நாங்கள் கூற விரும்புவது, சிறுவர் என்பவர் 18 வயதுக்கு குறைந்த அனைவருமே சிறுவர்களாக நாங்கள் கருதுவது முக்கியமானது. இந்த சிறுவர் துஷ்பிரயோகம் என்பது என்ன என்று பார்த்தோமானால், சிறுவர்களை அவர்களின் இயல்புகளுக்கும் தன்மைகளுக்கும் முரணாக பிழையாக பயன்படுத்துதல் சிறுவர் துஷ்பிரயோகம் என்று நாங்கள் கூற விரும்புகின்றோம். அதாவது சிறுவர்களை அவர்களின் இயல்புகளுக்கும் தன்மைகளுக்கும் முரணாக அவர்கள் உண்மையாக எடுத்துக்கொண்டோமானால் சிறு வயதிலிருந்து எவ்வாறு வாழ வேண்டும், அவர்களுடைய சிறு வயதுக்கு பேணி காக்க வேண்டியது அரவணைப்பு, பாதுகாப்பு, அன்பு, போஷாக்கு போன்ற விடயங்களில் அவர்களை பூரணப்படுத்த வேண்டும். ஆக்கப்பூர்வமான பிரஜைகளாக வளர்வதற்கு அவர்களுக்கு வழிவகுக்கவும் வேணும். இவ்வாறான சூழ்நிலையில் இருக்க வேண்டிய சிறுவர்கள் அந்த இயல்புகளிலிருந்தும் தன்மைகளிலிருந்தும் அதற்கு முரணான பிழையான வழிகளில் வழி நடத்துவது சிறுவர் துஷ்பிரயோகமாக நாங்கள் கருதுகின்றோம். உலக சுகாதார நிறுவனத்தின் வரைவிலக்கணத்தின்படி நாங்கள் எடுத்தமென்றால் உலக சுகாதார நிறுவனத்தின் வரைவிலக்கணத்தின்படி இந்த சிறுவர் துஷ்பிரயோகம் என்பது என்னவென்று பார்த்தோமானால், சிறுவர்களை உடல் ரீதியாக அல்லது உணர்வு ரீதியாக பாதிப்படைய செய்தல், பாலியல் துஷ்பிரயோகம், புறக்கணித்தல், வர்த்தகம் அல்லது வேறு விடயங்களுக்காக சுரண்டல் போன்றவற்றின் மூலம் அவர்களின் ஆரோக்கியம், உயிர் வாழ்தல், வளர்ச்சி மற்றும் கௌரவம் போன்றவற்றுக்கு பாதிப்பை ஏற்படுத்தல் சிறுவர் துஷ்பிரயோகம் எனப்படும் என்று குறிப்பிடப்பட்டிருக்கு. ஆகவே நான் கூற விரும்புகின்றேன் என்னவென்றால், இந்த சிறுவர்களை உடல் ரீதியாக பாதிக்கப்படுவது அல்லது நாங்கள் எப்போதும் துஷ்பிரயோகம் என்னும் போது பாலியல் துஷ்பிரயோகத்தை மாத்திரம்தான் நாங்கள் கருத்தில் கொள்கின்றோம். நான் மீண்டும் மீண்டும் கூற வருவது, புறக்கணித்தல் கூட நாங்கள் உண்மையாகவே இது ஒரு குடும்பத்தில் கூட நடக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு துஷ்பிரயோகமாத்தான் நாங்கள் நினைக்கின்றோம். சிறுவர்களை புறக்கணிக்கப்படுவது, அவர்களுடைய உணர்வுகளுக்கு, அவர்களுடைய தேவைகளுக்கு, அவர்களுடைய கருத்துக்கு மதிப்பு வழங்காமை போன்றதன் காரணத்தால் இவ்வாறான புறக்கணிப்புகள் ஏற்படலாம். அது மட்டுமல்லாமல் அண்மை காலத்தில் இலங்கை நடந்த 15 வயது சிறுமியை அதாவது பாலியல் ரீதியான விற்பனைக்கு உள்ளாக்கப்பட்ட தாய் ஒருவரின் சம்பவத்தை நாங்கள் பேசினோம். அவ்வாறான பாலியல் ரீதியாக விற்பனைக்கோ அல்லது போதை வஸ்து விற்பனைக்காகவோ அவர்களை பயன்படுத்துகின்றார்கள், சிறுவர்களை பயன்படுத்துகின்றார்கள். அவ்வாறான விடயங்களிலாலும் இந்த சிறுவர்களுடைய சிறு காலத்தை, அவர்களுடைய தன்மைகளை, அவர்களுடைய உணர்வுகளை சுரண்டப்படுகின்றது. அதுவும் இது அவர்களுடைய ஆரோக்கியம், உயிர் வாழ்தல் சில நேரம் அபாயகரமான நிலைகளுக்கு தள்ளப்படலாம். அவர்களுடைய உடல் வளர்ச்சிக்கு, மன வளர்ச்சிக்கு இது பாதிப்புகள் ஏற்படுத்துகின்றது, அவர்களுடைய கௌரவத்தை பாதிக்கின்றது. ஆகவே இவ்வாறான சம்பவங்களும் இவ்வாறான நிலவரங்களும் துஷ்பிரயோகம் என்று தான் நாங்கள் கருதுகின்றோம். அதுக்கடுத்து நாங்கள் இந்த துஷ்பிரயோகம் எவ்வாறான முறைகளில் நடக்கிறது என்றதை பார்ப்போமானால், துஷ்பிரயோகம் உடலியல் ரீதியான துஷ்பிரயோகம், அதாவது அடித்தல், பசியால் வாட்டி வைப்பது, அல்லது அவர்களுக்கு உதவி வழங்காமை, அவர்களை நாளுக்கு நாள் போஷாக்கு இல்லாத தன்மைக்குள்ளாக்கப்படுதல் போன்ற விடயங்களால் தான் நாங்கள் உடலியல் ரீதியான துஷ்பிரயோகம் என்று நினைக்கின்றோம். உளவியல் ரீதியான துஷ்பிரயோகம் ஏசுதல், அவர்களுடைய புறக்கணித்தல், அவர்களுடைய மன உளைச்சலை ஏற்படுத்தல், அது மட்டுமல்லாமல் அவர்களுக்கு அங்கீகாரம் வகிக்காமல் அவர்களுடைய கருத்துக்களுக்கு மதிப்பளிக்காத இருத்தல் போன்ற விடயங்களும் நாங்கள் இவ்வாறு உளவியல் ரீதியான, அதில் ஒரு சின்ன பிள்ளை இருக்கிறது, அதை மன்னிக்கவும், உளவியல் ரீதியான துஷ்பிரயோகம் என்று நினைக்கின்றோம். அடுத்தது பாலியல் ரீதியான துஷ்பிரயோகம் என்பதை பற்றி உங்களுக்கு நன்றாக தெரியும், அனைவரும் நாங்கள் அறிந்து விடுவோம். ஏனென்றால் அது பாலியல் ரீதியான துஷ்பிரயோகம் பாடசாலைகளிலும் நடக்கின்றது. குடும்பங்களில் இருக்கின்ற எங்களுக்கு அண்மித்த நபர்களாலே தான் பாலியல் துஷ்பிரயோகங்கள் வாழ்கின்ற சிறுவர்களுக்கு அதிகமாக ஏற்படுகின்றது. அதாவது ஆசிரியர்களாக இருக்கலாம், மத குருமார்களாக இருக்கலாம், வைத்தியர்களாக இருக்கலாம், உறவினர்களாக இருக்கலாம், அயலவர்களாக இருக்கலாம். இவ்வாறு துஷ்பிரயோகங்கள் ஏற்படுது, பாலியல் ரீதியான துஷ்பிரயோகம் ஏற்படுத்துவதற்கு இந்த இவ்வகையிலான துஷ்பிரயோகங்களின் காரணத்தால் நாளுக்கு நாள் மன ரீதியாகவும் உடல் ரீதியாலும் பாதிக்கப்படுகின்ற சிறுவர்களின் எண்ணிக்கை அதிகரித்து வருகின்றது. அடுத்ததுதான் புறக்கணிப்பு ரீதியான துஷ்பிரயோகம். அது நாங்கள் உளவியல் ரீதியான துஷ்பிரயோகம் என்றும் நாங்கள் கணிப்பிடலாம். இருந்த போதிலும் புறக்கணிப்பு, அதாவது ஒரு சிறுவரை அவர்களுக்கு தேவைப்படுகின்ற வகையிலான மதிப்பளிக்காமை, அது குடும்பத்திலும் நடக்கலாம். ஒரு தாயிடமிருந்தும், ஒரு தந்தையினரிடமிருந்து, ஒரு ஆசிரியரிடமிருந்து இவ்வாறான புறக்கணிப்பு. பாடசாலை பாடங்களின் போது அவர்களுடைய தகமைகளுக்கு, திறமைகளுக்கு மதிப்பளிக்காமை போன்ற சம்பவங்களினாலும் அன்பாரான புறக்கணிப்பு இருக்கு. அவர்களுடைய தேவைப்பாடுகளுக்கு ஏற்ப அவர்களுக்கு இடமளிக்காமை, அவர்களுடைய திறமைகளுக்கு மதிப்பளிக்காமை போன்ற விடயங்களும் நாங்கள் இதில் கூற விரும்புகிறோம். அடுத்து சிறுவர் துஷ்பிரயோகங்கள் ஏற்படுவதற்கான பின்னணி காரணங்கள். நான் இந்த பின்னணி காரணங்களை நான் கூறும்போது முக்கியமானது வறுமை. இந்த வறுமை என்பது இந்த வறுமை கோட்டிற்கு கீழ் வாழ்கின்ற மக்களிடையே இந்த சிறுவர் துஷ்பிரயோகம் என்பது அதிகமாகவே இருக்கின்றது. ஏனென்றால் இந்த வறுமை காரணத்தால், இப்ப நாங்கள் எடுத்துக்கொண்டோம் என்றால் சிறு வயதிலேயே திருமணம் செய்து கொடுக்க நேர்கின்ற சம்பவங்கள் நாங்கள் கேள்விப்பட்டிருக்கின்றோம். அது இலங்கை எடுத்தவரையில் மலையகத்தில் இருக்கலாம், வடக்கு கிழக்கு மாகாணங்களில இருக்கலாம், ஏனைய பிரதேசங்களிலாகவும் இருக்கலாம். அது ஒரு வறுமையின் கோட்டிற்கு கீழ் வாழ்கின்ற மக்களிடையே இந்த ஒரு சிறுவன் என்பது அல்லது ஒரு சிறுமி என்பவர் குடும்பத்திற்கு பாரமாகவே நினைக்க வேண்டிய சந்தர்ப்பம் ஏற்படுது. ஆகையால் அவர்கள் சிறு வயதிலேயே அந்த சிறுவர்களை திருமணம் செய்து கொடுத்து விட்டு அந்த குடும்ப சுமையிலிருந்து நீக்கிக் கொள்வதும் உண்டு. ஆகையால் அந்த வறுமை காரணத்தால் சிறு வயதிலிருந்தே துஷ்பிரயோகங்களுக்கு முகம் கொடுக்க வேண்டிய சம்பவங்கள் இருக்கு. அது மட்டுமல்லாமல் வீட்டு பணிப்பெண்களாக, வீட்டு ஊழியர்களாக அமர்த்துவதற்கு முக்கிய காரணம் இந்த வறுமை. இவ்வாறான அதாவது ஒரு கடைகளிலோ அல்லது வேலை ஸ்தலங்களிலோ வீடுகளிலோ வேலைக்கு அனுப்புவதற்கு சந்தர்ப்பம் நேரிடுவது இந்த வறுமையின் காரணத்தால் ஏற்படுகின்றது. இரண்டாவது காரணமாக அறியாமை. அதாவது தன்னுடைய சிறு வயதிலிருந்து பாடசாலைக்கு போகும் போது இருந்தே இந்த மாணவர்கள் தங்களுடைய உடல்களில் உள்ள உரிமைகள், உடல் உரிமை என்ன, தனக்கு உள்ள சட்ட நடவடிக்கைகள், சட்ட உரிமைகள் என்ன, எவ்வாறு இருக்க வேண்டும் என்பதை பற்றி, அவர்களுக்கான உரிமைகளை பற்றி அறிவொன்றிருக்க வேண்டும். சட்ட ரீதியான அறிவியல் தேவை. ஆனாலும் இலங்கை பொறுத்த வகையில் இந்த பாலியல் கல்வியோ அல்லது சட்ட கல்வியோ இல்லாததன் காரணத்தால் அவர்கள் அவ்வாறு அறியாமையின் காரணத்தாலே துஷ்பிரயோகங்களுக்கு, பாலியல் துஷ்பிரயோகங்களுக்கு முகம் கொடுக்கின்றார்கள். அது மட்டுமல்லாமல் துன்புறுத்தல்கள், அடித்தல், புறக்கணித்தல் போன்ற துன்புறுத்தல்களுக்கு முகம் கொடுக்கும் போது உரிமைகள், சிறுவர் உரிமைகளை பற்றி அவர்களுக்கு அனுபவம் இல்லாத, சட்ட ரீதியான அனுபவம் இல்லாததும் இருக்கின்றது. மூன்றாவது விடயமாக லட்சியம், அலட்சியப்படுத்தல் என்பது ஒரு குடும்பத்திலும் அலட்சியமாக, அதாவது சிறுவர்களை அலட்சியமாக நினைப்பது, அவர்கள் குறைந்தவர்கள், அவர்கள் தாழ்ந்தவர்கள், உரிமைகளற்றவர்கள், பேச்சுரிமையற்றவர்கள் என்று நினைக்கின்ற மனப்பான்மையும் இன்று சிறுவர்கள், மன்னிக்கணும், இதிலும் ஒரு சிறந்த பிழை ஒன்று இருக்குது, இந்த இடத்தில் இது வர வேணும். சிறுவர்கள் சமூக பிரஜைகளாக கருதாமை, அதாவது சிறுவர்களை சமூக பிரஜைகளாக, இரண்டாம் தர பிரஜைகளாகத்தான் கருதப்படுகின்றது. ஏனென்றால் அவர்களை சமூகத்தில் அங்கீகரிக்கப்பட்ட பிரஜைகளாக கருதப்பட மாட்டார்கள். சிறுவர்களின் உரிமைகளுக்கு, அவர்களுடைய கருத்துக்களுக்கு மதிப்பளிக்காமையின் காரணத்தாலும் இது தாழ்வு மனப்பான்மையும் நாங்கள் இதில் குறிப்பிட வேணும். இந்த தாழ்வு மனப்பான்மை என்பது சிறுவர்களையும் அந்த குடும்பங்களில் உள்ள, ஏனென்றால் இந்த சில வேளை அதிகாரிகளிடமிருந்து துஷ்பிரயோகங்களுக்கு, துன்புறுத்தல்களுக்கு தங்களுடைய சிறுவர்கள் முகம் கொடுத்த போதிலும் அதற்கு எதிராக முட்டி மோதி சட்டத்தை நடைமுறையில் கொண்டு வருவதற்கான திடமான நம்பிக்கையுடைய மனப்பான்மை இல்லாததன் காரணத்தாலும், நாங்கள் ஏழைகள், எங்களுக்கு இதுல நாங்கள் முகம் கொடுக்க முடியுமா, இவ்வாறான பிரச்சனைகளுக்கு நாங்கள் முகம் கொடுக்கலாமா, இதை நாங்கள் மூடி மறைத்து விட்டு அமைதியாக இருப்போம் என்ற தாழ்வு மனப்பான்மையின் காரணத்தாலும் நாளுக்கு நாள் இந்த துஷ்பிரயோகங்கள் அதிகரித்துக் கொண்டே இருக்கு. சட்ட உரிமைகள் பற்றி அறியாமை. உண்மையாக எடுத்துக்கொண்டோம் என்றால் இலங்கையில் வாழ்கின்ற மக்களுக்கு சிறுவர்களுடைய உரிமைகளை பற்றியும் தங்களுடைய உரிமைகளை பற்றியும் அறியாத தன்மையின் காரணத்தால் இவ்வாறான நடவடிக்கைகள் நடக்குது. ஆகையால் இந்த சட்ட உரிமைகள் பற்றி அறியாமை நாங்கள் நினைக்கின்றோம். பெற்றோர்கள் நுண்ணிதி கடன்களில் சிக்கி தவிப்பமே. இந்த நுண்ணிதி கடன்களில் சிக்கி தவிப்பதன் காரணத்தால், உண்மையாக இந்த இஷாலினியின் சம்பவத்தை எடுத்துக்கொண்டோமானால் கூட இது ஒரு நுண்கடன் பிரச்சனையாகத்தான் இருந்தது. அந்த நுண்கடன் பிரச்சனை அந்த 30,000 ரூபாய் கடன் வாங்கி அந்த கடனுக்கு அடமானமாகத்தான் அந்த இஷாலினி என்ற சிறுமியை அந்த வீட்டுக்கு வேலைக்கு அமர்த்துவதற்கான சந்தர்ப்பம் நிகழ்ந்தது என்று நாங்கள் கேள்விப்பட்டிருக்கின்றோம். ஆகையால் இந்த நுண்நிதி கடன்களில் சிக்கி தவிக்கின்ற பெற்றோர்களுடைய சிறுவர்களுக்கு இவ்வாறான அவல நிலைகள் ஏற்படுகின்றது. இறுதியாக நான் பேச விரும்புகிறது, சிறுவர் துஷ்பிரயோகத்தை தடுக்க எங்கள் தீர்வுகள். முதலாக நான் நினைக்கின்றேன், இலங்கையில் எடுத்தமென்றால் பாலியல் கல்வி வழங்குதல் கட்டாயப்படுத்த வேண்டும். சிறுவர் துஷ்பிரயோகத்தை தடுக்க எங்கள் தீர்வுகள் என்ற காரணத்துக்கு நாங்கள் இப்போ வருவோம். அதில் பாலியல் கல்வி வழங்குதல் இலங்கையில் கட்டாயப்படுத்த வேண்டும். ஏனென்றால் இலங்கை எடுத்தவரையில் இதுவரையும், அதாவது பாலியல் ரீதியான ஏதேனும் பேசுவோமாக இருந்தால், அதை நாங்கள் வெளிப்படைத்தன்மையாக பேசுவோமாக இருந்தால் அது மிகவும் கேவலமான அல்லது அது ஆபாச படங்களை பார்ப்பது போன்ற அது தடுக்க வேண்டிய ஒரு விடயமாகத்தான் இன்னும் இலங்கையில் பேசப்படுது. ஆகவே அதன் காரணத்தால் இந்த அறியாமை ஏற்படுத்துவதற்கு முக்கிய காரணம். இந்த பாலியல் கல்வி இல்லாததன் பட்சத்தில் சிறுவர்கள் நாளுக்கு நாள் இந்த பாலியல் துஷ்பிரயோகங்களுக்கு முகம் கொடுக்கிறார்கள். தங்களுடைய உடல்களை பற்றி, உடல் உரிமைகளை பற்றி அவர்களுக்கு தெரியாது. ஆகவே இவ்வாறான தீர்வுகளுக்கு நாங்கள் வர வேண்டும் என்று நாங்கள் நினைக்கிறோம். இரண்டாவது, சிறுவர் உரிமைகள் பற்றிய சட்டக்கல்வி வழங்குதல். இந்த சட்டக்கல்வி என்பது இந்த உரிமைகள் பற்றி, ஒரு ஆசிரியர் தன்னை அடித்தாலும் கூட எனக்கு என்ன நடவடிக்கைகள் எடுக்க முடியும், அல்லது எனக்கு ஏதேனும் உடல் ரீதியான பாதிப்புகள் ஏற்படுத்தினால், புறக்கணிக்கப்பட்டால் எனது தகமைகளுக்கு திறமைகளுக்கு இடமளிக்காவிட்டால் நான் எவ்வாறான நடவடிக்கை எடுக்க வேண்டும் என்பதை பற்றி சிறுவர்களுக்கு ஒன்றும் தெரியாது. அது போன்று பெற்றோர்களுக்கும் தெரியாது. ஆகவே சிறுவர் உரிமைகள் பற்றிய சட்டக்கல்வி நாங்கள் வழங்கப்பட வேண்டும் என்பதை நாங்கள் நினைக்கின்றோம். நடைமுறையில் உள்ள சட்டமூலங்கள் பலப்படுத்துதல். இந்த சட்டமூலங்கள் பலப்படுத்துதல் என்பதை நான் கூற விரும்புகின்றேன். உண்மையாக எடுத்தோம்னால் நாங்கள் இந்த நாட்டில் நடைமுறையில் உள்ள சட்டமூலங்கள் பொருளாதார இந்த நடைமுறையில் உள்ள சட்ட மூலங்கள் அதாவது இந்த நாட்டில் உள்ள மக்களுக்கிட்ட இந்த உண்மையாக எடுத்தமென்றால் 1951 இலக்கம் 13 கொண்ட முஸ்லிம் திருமணம் மற்றும் விவாகரத்து தொடர்பான சட்டமூலத்தின்படி 12 வயதிற்கு மேற்பட்டவர்களுக்கு திருமணமாக முடியும் என்று திருமணமாக கொள்ள முடியும் என்ற நிபந்தனை ஒன்று இருக்கு. அது இப்போது அதாவது 2021ஆம் ஆண்டு ஜனவரி மாதம் தொடக்கம் அது ரத்து செய்யப்பட்டு அது அனைத்துமே அந்த திருமண அல்லது விவாகரத்து சட்டம் பொதுவான அமுலில் உள்ள சட்டமாக இயங்கி வர வேண்டும் என்பதை பற்றி இலங்கையில் சட்ட அதிபர் உத்தரவிட்டிருக்கின்றார். ஆகையால் அது ஒரு திருத்தப்பட்ட சட்டமாகத்தான் இப்ப இருக்கின்றது. ஆகவே அனைவருக்கும் அதாவது திருமணம் மற்றும் விவாகரத்து தொடர்பான சட்ட மூலத்தை மேலும் மாற்றப்பட்டிருக்கு. பாதுகாப்புள்ள சூழலை வழங்குதல் என்ற இந்த 4வது விடயத்தில் நான் கூற விரும்புவது இப்போது நாங்கள் அறிகின்றோம், இந்த சிறு வயதில் திருமணம் செய்வதற்கு நிபந்தனை ஏற்படுவது ஒரு துஷ்பிரயோகமாக நாங்கள் நினைக்கின்றோம். அதற்கான காரணம் பொருளாதார பாதுகாப்பின்மை. பொருளாதார பாதுகாப்பின்மை என்பது பொருளாதார பாதுகாப்பின்மையின் காரணத்தால் ஒரு குடும்பத்திற்கு தன்னுடைய குழந்தைகளுக்கு உணவு வசதி வழங்க முடியாவிட்டால், பாதுகாப்பு வழங்க முடியாவிட்டால், போஷாக்கு வழங்க முடியாவிட்டால் அது திருமணத்துக்கு தள்ளப்படுகின்ற நிபந்தனை ஏற்படுகின்றது. வேலைக்கு அமர்த்துவதற்கு நிபந்தனை ஏற்படுகின்றது. அது மட்டுமல்லாமல் முக்கியமாக இலங்கை ஒரு சிங்கள பௌத்த நாடு என்ற வகையில் துறவிகளாக சிறு வயதிலேயே விகாரைகளுக்கு அனுமதிக்கப்பட்டு அந்த அவ்வாறான கல்வி மேற்கொள்ளவும் போஷாக்குடைய மக்களாக வாழ்வதற்கும் வழிவகுக்கின்ற பின்னணி காரணம் ஒன்றும் இருக்கு. ஆகவே இவ்வாறான இடங்களுக்கு நாங்கள் அதை தவிர்ப்பதற்காக நாங்கள் பொருளாதார சமத்துவம் கொண்ட ஒரு முறைமையை ஏற்படுத்துவது கட்டாயம். அந்த சிறு வயதிலேயே திருமணம் செய்து கொள்ளவோ அல்லது துறவியாக தள்ளிவிடுவதற்கோ அல்லது குடும்ப பொறுப்பிலிருந்து நீங்கி விடுவதற்கு நேர்கின்ற நிமித்தம் ஏற்படுவது இவ்வாறான காரணங்களால். ஆகவே நாங்கள் அதை தவிர்ப்பதற்கு உறுதியான பாதுகாப்புள்ள சூழலை உருவாக்க தேவை. அது மட்டுமல்லாமல் இதுல நாங்கள் எடுத்துக்கொண்டோம் என்றால் வேலை வாய்ப்புகளுக்கு போகின்ற பெற்றோர்களுடைய குழந்தைகளும் பாதுகாப்பற்ற சூழலில் இருக்கின்றார்கள். அப்போது அவ்வாறான துஷ்பிரயோகங்கள் நடத்துபவர்களுக்கு இந்த சிறுவர்களை அண்மைக்க வசதி வாய்ப்புகள் ஏற்படுகின்றது. அதை தவிர்ப்பதற்கும் உறுதியான இடங்கள் தேவை. பாதுகாப்புள்ள சூழல் பிள்ளைகளுக்கு அமைத்துக் கொடுக்க வேண்டும். உளநல மருத்துவ ஆலோசனை பிரிவுகளை பாடசாலைகளில் ஸ்தாபித்தல். பாடசாலைகளை எடுத்தோம் என்றால் மிகவும் உளவியல் ரீதியான மன ரீதியான துஷ்பிரயோகங்களுக்கு சிறுவர்கள் கொடுக்கின்றார்கள். அதிலிருந்து பாதுகாப்பு பெறுவதற்கு அந்த குழந்தைகளுக்கு உளநல மருத்துவ ஆலோசனை பிரிவுகள் தேவைப்படுகின்றது. ரைட். அடுத்தது 18 வயது வரை கல்வியை கட்டாயப்படுத்த நாங்கள் ஒரு தீர்வாக நினைக்கின்றோம். ஏனென்றால் கல்வி அறிவு உடையவர்கள் இவ்வாறான துஷ்பிரயோகங்களில் இருந்து தவிர்த்துக் கொள்வதற்கு தங்களுடைய தம்மை பலப்படுத்திக் கொள்வார்கள். அது மட்டுமல்லாமல் எங்களுக்கு தெரியும், உண்மையாக எடுத்துக்கொண்டால் இந்த இவ்வாறான காலத்தில் 2021 என்பது இப்ப உலக விஞ்ஞானம் மிகவும் வளர்ச்சி அடைந்த ஒரு காலம். அது மட்டுமில்லாமல் தொழில்நுட்பத்தில் நாங்கள் வளர்ச்சி அடைந்த காலம். ஆயினும் இன்னும் இந்த நாட்டில் சிறு வயதில் சிறுவர்களை திருமணம் செய்து கொடுக்கின்ற சம்பவங்கள் ஏற்படுவதாக இருந்தால் அதற்கு முக்கிய காரணம் வறுமை. அது எந்த மதமாக இருந்தாலும், அது மத ரீதியாகவோ இன ரீதியாகவோ சமுதாய ரீதியாகவோ பண்பாட்டு ரீதியாக நடப்பதல்ல. அது வறுமையின் காரணத்தால் மாத்திரம்தான் நடக்கின்றது. ஒரு தனது தான் வயிற்றில் சுமந்த ஒரு குழந்தையை வேலைக்கு அமர்த்துவது, சிறுவயதில் திருமணம் செய்து கொடுப்பது, அல்லது வீட்டு வேலைக்கு பணிக்கு அனுப்பிவிடுவது ஏதேனும் ஒரு காரணத்தால் அல்ல, மத ரீதியாகவோ இன ரீதியாகவோ மொழி ரீதியாக நடப்பதல்ல. அது முக்கியமாகவே வறுமையின் காரணத்தாலே மட்டும்தான் நடக்கின்றது. ஆகவே இது அனைத்துக்கும் முக்கிய பொறுப்பு அரசியல் பொருளாதார முறை என்று நாங்கள் நினைக்கின்றோம். ஆகவே இது அனைத்திலும் இருந்து விடுவு பெறுவதற்காக இந்த 18 வயது வரை கல்வி கட்டாயப்படுத்தல் தேவை. சகதி வசதிகளும் உடைய சிறுவர் இல்லங்கள் அமைத்து கொடுக்க வேண்டும். உடலியல் தேவைகள், உளவியல் தேவைகள் பாதிக்கின்ற வகையிலான கல்வி முறைகளை உளவியல் தேவைகள் பூர்த்தியாகின்ற வகையிலான கல்வி முறைமையை அறிமுகப்படுத்தல். கல்வி, சுகாதாரம் மற்றும் போஷாக்கு என்ற காரணங்கள் அரசாங்கத்தின் பொறுப்பாக ஏந்திய கல்வி முறை ஒன்றை உருவாக்குதல். ஆகவே நாங்கள் இறுதியாக நான் கூற விரும்புகின்றேன். ஏனென்றால் இது அனைத்தும் செய்ய முடிகின்றது ஒரே ஒரு காரணத்தால் மட்டும்தான். இந்த அரச பொருளாதார முறைமை என்பது இந்த நாட்டில் உள்ள மக்களுடைய எதிர்காலத்துக்கு பாதிக்கின்ற நாள். நான் இறுதியாக கூற விரும்புகின்றேன், நடைமுறையில் உள்ள அரச பொருளாதார முறையை மாற்றி அமைக்க முன்வருவோம். அது மாத்திரம்தான், அதுதான் முக்கிய எங்களுடைய தீர்வு. இந்த நடைமுறையில் உள்ள, அதாவது நாங்கள் நியோலிபரலிசம் நாங்கள் கூறுவோம், இந்த தாராண்மைவாத அரசியல் முறைமை எங்கள் யாருக்குமே, சிறுவர்களுக்கோ பெரியோர்களுக்கோ எங்களுடைய பெற்றோர்களுக்கோ எவருக்குமே இந்த உலகத்தில் வாழ்பவர்களுக்கு மக்கள் என்ற மதிப்பில்லாத சூழ்நிலையில் தான் வாழ நேரிடுகின்றது. ஆகவே அதிலிருந்து விடிவு பெறுவதற்கு இந்த நியோலிபரலிசம், இந்த தாராண்மைவாத அரசியல் பயணத்தை நாங்கள் முறியடிக்க வேண்டும். நடைமுறையில் உள்ள அரச பொருளாதார முறைமையை மாற்றி அமைக்க முன்வருவோம் என்று கூறி, அதுவே இந்த சிறுவர் துஷ்பிரயோகத்திலிருந்து விடிவு பெறுவதற்கும் ஒரே வழி என்று கூறி நான் விடைபெறுகின்றேன். வாய்ப்பு தந்தமைக்கு நன்றி.
Small summary in English, whatever some spoke to you now. That not only female children were abused, they actually male, and we usually consider sexual abuse as abuse, but she actually pointed out that emotional abuse, we never talk about it. The solutions which Saroja placed are giving sexual education for children in an appropriate way, in an appropriate age, and giving them knowledge about law and about their children's rights. And when they know the law and order, so they'll know where to reach for help. And she pointed out that the Muslim marriage law says under 12-year-olds can be married to somebody. And this is the main reason, not just the religion, but also the economical system. The poverty makes the parents getting them married in an early stage. Providing protective environment is the main reason, not having environmental, economical protectiveness. So the child has been using child labor, or even made them as Buddhist monks, or giving them in marriage in younger age. Parents who have to go to work can be, children whose parents can go to work can be exposed to child abuse as well. And in schools, mainly, they have been abused emotionally. So this has to be stopped as well. And compulsory schooling age has to be 18 years of age. So these are the points Saroja made as a solutions, and mainly the system has to be changed because we all are under neoliberalism, which is not making the child grow in a thriving or thrive and attain its potential. And also the law and legislation has to be changed, that the child has to be considered as a child up to the age of 18. Thank you. Harshana.
Thank you very much, Faza, and also thank you very much for the organization Women for Rights for inviting me for this session. Firstly, we have to figure out the problem for child abuse. We use the word child abuse, but what does child abuse encompass? How do we protect children? We are a country who is a signatory. In 1991, we have signed for the Child Rights Convention. Has our governments from that day onwards been able to protect children? So this is what I will be able to speak. I mean, I will try to speak within the next 20 minutes. But first, we must have a scientific approach. Firstly, we must understand how does children come into contact with the law? What capacity do they come into contact with the law? Once, as children who are in need of care and protection, we have a separate law called the Children's and Young Persons Ordinance of 1939, which says who's a child who needs care and protection. The regime and the problems faced by a child in need of care and protection has to be addressed. Secondly, there are what we call offending children. That means these are children who get involved in offenses. However, we do not have a big issue of juvenile offending in this country like in Europe. Actually, mostly petty theft or stealing a coconut and everything. And there's a separate regime for that. However, in this scenario, we do not consider these offending children as criminal. It is simply children have been neglected, lack of opportunity, lack of supervision, that they have committed these crimes. And the other ones are victims who are victims of offenses committed by adults, such as rape, grave sexual abuse, or any other sexual offense, including exploitation. Now, when we say abuse, it's normal for us to feel it's always sexual. But no, there's a wide range of abuses. Saroja said, we have emotional abuse. Then there's offense of cruelty, which is explained in the Penal Code of Sri Lanka, Section 308. So these are offenses committed by adults. Now, as we know in our society, we speak a lot when an incident has happened. Now, when an incident had happened, what does that mean? That means the damage to the child concerned has already taken place. Our existing systems, existing authorities only get activated when the damage is done. All the Facebook, all the media, what they're speaking about is the gruesome nature of it and the need for the adult offender to be punished. But however, the damage to the child has been done. Of course, it's true. Now, where is the problem in trying to punish the adult? Because we know that when we have a trial, if we can convict a criminal, that will serve as a deterrent effect for the rest of the people to prevent them from committing crimes on children. True. But for that particular child concerned, the harm has already been done. Now, if we look at what should be the solution should be to have more and more prevention programs. That means we must be able to put a system in place with Gram Sevaka divisions, divisional secretariat divisions, teachers, village elders, leaders must be educated on how to detect a child who's going through suffering in silence. Remember, children do not speak out loud about their problems. The adults around them should be able to study them. Now, where is the biggest problem? Is there a deterrent effect of crimes being committed? There's no deterrent effect at all, because in this country, a child abuse case could take 7 to 8 years to be heard and concluded. On most occasions, when the child concerned is giving an evidence in the court about a particular crime that happened to her, it is normally about after 5 or 6 years or even 7, 8 years after the offense. So the child is about 19 when she has to, or he has to explain the particular abuse that took place. And obviously the child cannot recall, child will not remember. And on most occasions, the victim will suffer for the second time around inside the court process. But for most part, the offender gets acquitted or released because the evidence is not strong. So there's a serious delay in the system which defeats the purpose of justice for children. So the deterrent effect that we are expecting from the law is not taking place. The other one is lack of rule of law. As you know, in this country, rule of law is in crisis on a regular basis. Now, what do you mean by rule of law? Simply, it encompasses many aspects, but sufficient to say that everybody be treated equally before the law. People are given a chance to be heard. equality before the law is part of due process. Now, we jolly well know whenever a powerful person commits a crime, they hardly get caught. Even if they are caught, they are released very soon and no convictions. In this country, the rate of convictions are less than 10%. So the deterrent effect we are expecting is not taking place. So therefore, when those who are committing crimes on children, when they feel by talking with a politician or some rich, powerful person, they can evade the law, there's no deterrent effect. This is one of the reasons for the rising number of child abuse or rape or child-related offenses in the country. Then, what is the need of the moment? The need is to have a system of prevention in place and also update our laws. Now, updating our laws, the particular law I'm talking about, the Children's and Young Persons Ordinance, is in 1939. It has not been amended a single occasion for the last, I don't know, nearly 80 years now, 80 or 20, nearly 90 years. And if you look at, there are so many laws, Shop and Office Employees Act, then we have the Factories Ordinance. Now, none of them have been updated. So therefore, the law is not providing enough protection for children. If we look at why these children getting separated, mainly the reasons are poverty. Getting back onto the laws, one must understand that although the child's age according to the Child Rights Convention is 18, in Sri Lanka, different laws have different ages for children. Children's and Young Persons Ordinance covers children only up to the age of 16. Penal Code, on the other hand, covers up to the age of 18. So in this country, we don't even have a unanimous understanding or agreement as to what the age of the child should be. So firstly, what we should be doing is bringing in laws for a preventive mechanism. Right now, we have no preventive mechanism. No laws have been set in place aimed at prevention. That is number one problem. Second, and the biggest problem, is with the 13th Amendment, child protection and child care became a provincial subject. That means the central government cannot legislate, they cannot control, only the provinces attend to the matter. They are the ones who run the orphanages, they are the ones who supervise the orphanages, they are the ones who set minimum standards for orphanages. But those probation officers who are working at the provincial level are not answerable to the central government. In the central government, there's a separate set of officers called the Child Rights Promotion Officers. Now, they don't work together. They have two different chains of command. As a result of which is that the child's problem is not communicated or coordinated right throughout the process. This is another biggest problem we are experiencing. So therefore, one of the main important things to do is probably on a day that there's a proper government, make childcare and protection a central government subject and monitor and regulate this centrally is one of the options we have. And we can use the National Child Protection Authority for these monitoring purposes. Right now, I doubt whether their full potential is being used. Now, talking about what Saroja was saying about the type of children who get into this situation are mainly children who are young. And once you are below 10 years and being abused, it doesn't really make a difference whether you are male or female. Both get it equally, all this form of abuse. And all this abuse takes place not by strangers. I have carried out researches in 2009, 2012 for child protection issues for the Ministry of Justice. And what I figured out is 99.99% are committed by known parties, people that you trust, family members, religious figures, teachers, the kind of people we feel the child will be the most safe. So the first myth we have to get out of is that pedophiles are normally strangers. Now, pedophiles could come in any form. So therefore, first we have to get out of that myth to protect children, that sometimes even Buddhist clergy have been accused of committing actions of offense on children. Sometimes the Christian priests have been accused of committing crimes. So therefore, what we need is a good preventive law, which the country does not have. But however, even by using The existing mechanisms, we can serve the people, children far better only if the governments concerned run their job properly. Now, coming back, what are the things these children need to be protected from? Not just sexual offenses. Sorry, a call came. Separated from their families. The main reason why these children getting separated from family are financial. In fact, most of the abuse takes place when there's no parental supervision. Sometimes the stress, and especially during this corona time, with domestic violence is increasing very much in this country, children are also victims of it, not just the women, wives, because that emotional abuse is there. So to prevent the families from separating from with the child, we have to provide them with proper finances. Main reason for separation of children is poverty. And although there's no proper research, on most occasions, even younger children being given as monks to the temple, the reason is poverty. So as long as poverty, I mean, if you take Ishalini's case for an example, now in this country, in Colombo, we know how many domestic aides who are underage serving in these houses. They feel that the hill country area in Sri Lanka, like Hatton or Navalapitiya or Norelia, are hubs for bringing servants, underage servants. In this country, we have no rule, no law regulating who can be a domestic aide. The age we don't have. And after this Ishalini incident, they have added domestic being a domestic aid as a hazardous occupation where children will not be allowed to take part in. I don't know whether the regulation has come into force, but we need far more stricter laws to ban child labor. So on the one hand side, preventive mechanisms. On the other hand side, implementing the existing law to punish offenders effectively. And it cannot be done when there are political interferences in the judicial process. Thirdly, financial and other services to support them from preventing them from being separated from the families. So these are the main approaches we have to take with regard to victims and children who are in need of care and protection. However, when it comes to offending children, the situation is a little different, where we have to provide them with opportunities to reintegrate them back into society. Secondly, we do not know what's happening these days in orphanages, and orphanage monitoring is a serious issue because those children don't even have a voice for the outsiders to even be heard. So on these instances, we feel that these are the approaches we must take. But while doing all this, it is also very important that as parents, what can we do to protect our children? Mainly, I will explain to you something called attachment theory. That is, when a child is being born, when the child is young, from the age of 6 months, they start communicating with their primary caregiver, mother or father, primary caregiver. That's why when a child is small in Sri Lanka, the mother knows when the child is crying, whether it is because a mosquito has bitten the child or the child is hungry. A mother can, but the primary caregiver can figure out the difference. So when a child is communicating with you by shaking their heads and legs, they look up to their primary caregiver. Now, as they grow up, if the parents are unable to keep a dialogue properly with the children by giving them mixed signals, when you say okay for something one day, you say no to it the following day, children get a little confused. Now, we have on certain occasions when the mothers or fathers watching their favorite teledrama, if the child says, "Can I eat ice cream?" they say, "Go ahead and eat it." But on a day that they have more time to attend to the child, they say, this is a time for you to eat ice cream. So it's kind of confusing for the child when they grow up. So what happens now, our society has got very, very busy. Parents do 2, 3 jobs. So when they come home, they just put the TV on or just give the phone to the child who's about 8 or 9. There's no proper parental communication. So as time goes by, when there's no communication, with mother, father, and the child. They are closing down to the parents and they start opening up to strangers. A good uncle next door, a nice cousin or religious leader who has time for them. So I think for you to understand what goes in a child's life, you must spend time with the child, talking to the child, not in front of a telly or just giving them good clothes and teaching them manners. No, that is also part of it. But it is far more important for a child to be heard by his parents and for the child to know I'm being trusted by my parents. So children will effectively communicate. And when that develops, they will we will always be able to understand what the child is going through, especially in a country like ours. Saroja is very correct. In our country, there's no sexual education whatsoever. As a result, children are learning about their bodies and their sexual situations from strangers, and they are the exact people who go to abuse. It is that nice uncle next door who has time to hear their story out can turn into an abuser. I'm not asking everybody to be panicking and paranoid about this situation, but it could be that. So, one thing we can do from home is to make sure that we spend time with children, we talk to children, we hear them out. And we have a law called International Civil and Cultural Rights Act of 2007. In that section 5 says all government and private authorities and establishments must consider the best interest of the children as priority in decision making. But do we see it as priority in decision making? I doubt very much. Children must be heard. Children have what we call an evolving capacity. That means they can take decisions with regard to their life. They should be heard. But it rarely happens. So to finish it off, what I'm saying is that whatever the incident that happens here, mainly due to lack of rule of law, that means law not being equally applied or efficiently applied, political interferences, the rich and the powerful interferences. As once Bernard Shaw said, laws are like the webs of the spider. The strong breaks them, but the poor and the weak get caught in them. But believe me, this can be fixed. But there are administrative arrangements, new laws to be brought in, effective communication between various caregivers are the main ways to prevent children from being sexually harassed. But it will never happen as long as there is poverty that forces children to be separated from their biological families. No mother who goes to the Middle East or the Kuwait, leaving their child behind, is doing it because they like it, but they have to do it. But the moment the mother is gone, I'm not saying fathers are not capable or bad, but there's a problem of whether proper attention is being paid. So therefore, in this country, what we have for the child labor issues mainly is unreasonable distribution of wealth. As Saroja rightly pointed out, capitalistic, neoliberalistic policies only focuses on money and money alone. They do not understand. They do not understand that if we destroy the future generation that is growing up, if they grow up with personality disorders due to emotional or physical abuse they're experiencing, then what are we going to be left with? And always remember, adults are always capable of voicing their opinion. They can strike on the road. They can write letters. They can do press conferences. They can protest. But children tend to suffer in silence, especially children from poorer families. So therefore, if for the country to thrive, for us to be a civilized nation, we must, as adults, become the voice of the children, because children otherwise have no voice. Can these laws be changed? Yes, they can be. Remember, whatever the law we speak about, as Marx put it once, law is always the will of the ruler. If there is a will, there is a way, and these problems can be solved. But under the current system, what's happening? There's no way we can protect any child. That's all I have to say. So thank you very much.
Any questions, please raise your hand so we will know.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Right. Thank you very much. First of all, I must tell you that I'm not living in Sri Lanka, so I don't know much about how the child protection works in Sri Lanka. So the questions are related to how it works in Sri Lanka. So I may be, you might have to help me in unraveling these issues. So my expertise in safeguarding as it happens in UK. There are several pillars which the safeguarding system works in UK. The first pillar is the first port of call. If there is any safeguarding related problem, the first port of call is never the police, it's always the social services. So one question to you is there any similar agency which a child or school or anybody else can refer somebody who's suffering from child abuse? The second pillar is the multi-agency response. So what it means is whenever the social services get a referral from the school or a member of the public or even parents or even the child himself, the next thing which would happen is they would get together and all the agencies, which means social services, police, health services, schools, health visitors, everybody get together and share the information about this family, which would make a big difference to the outcome of the investigation. So the second question is there a similar multi-agency response which can happen in Sri Lanka? And the third pillar we work on is a good foster care service in UK. So pending investigations, the child would be placed with either family members. If they can't find a reasonable family member, the child would be sent to foster care. So there's no point in asking or making a referral of a child. Let's say the child says, I'm being abused by my parents, and then letting him stay with the parents because that's where the problem is. So he would be even worse treated if he goes on to live with that same family. So my question, the third question is there a sufficiently robust placement system for these children on or referred for safeguarding problems? Thank you.
Saroja, can I answer that one? Can I answer that one?
Yeah, Harshana. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Right. For the first question, do we have a social service? The answer is yes. But in this country, we call it Department of Probation and Child Care, which is in the provincial councils, as I explained earlier. Now, centrally also, there's a Department of Probation. They are manned by a set of officers called Child Rights Promotion Officers, or CRPOs. They do preventative work mainly. So social services are there, which we call the probation department. They are the ones who, in England, the child care officer, the one who attends to court, is the probation officer. So whenever a child, if a crime has taken place, obviously the police and the probation services get together, right? But if it's a simple issue of care and protection, then only the probation and the CRPO get together. Our biggest problem is the word get together. Because as I told you, child right promotion officers are centrally located, centrally commanded. Probation is provincially commanded. Due to this confusion, the coordination that is necessary, or the multidisciplinary approach, or the multi-agency approach you are saying, is not taking place. In fact, the National Child Protection Authority was established for that purpose. But however, it has not been very effective. So I have worked with UNICEF as a legal consultant for over 4 or 5 years. I have done research for Save the Children. Right throughout, what we have done was trying to get these government servants to coordinate. So information is shared, the child is better protected. So have we progressed? I was in the child protection field for the last almost 15, 18 years now. Yes, compared to year 2000, we have come forward. At least the officers in the system now understand the need to coordinate and share information and have efficient case management processes. But The law is lagging. So now only we have best practices, but no laws are in place. This is why I explained in my presentation about prevention approaches. Now, the third question is a very valid one. Do we have foster care system? Answer, no, we do not. We do not have a law with regard to foster care. We have only a very archaic section from the Children's and Young Persons Ordinance of 1939 saying a fit person order. If the child needs care and protection, a fit person order can be made by the magistrate concerned. But however, you'll be happy to know that as we speak, tomorrow, I have been preparing with the National Child Protection Authority a new Foster Care Act. And in this Foster Care Act, we are definitely covering the situation that you raised, such as what you said about parents abusing. So we are going to have a couple of foster care systems there: kinship care, foster assistance, emergency care, all are foster parenting law. So for the first time in this country, we have worked out, I'm happy to say that I volunteered as a party to the National Child Protection Authority. We are bringing in a Foster Care Act. So the short answer, do we have one? No, a serious problem and a lacuna, and that we are addressing now. But although we give the concept paper, I do not know when that will ever become a law, because I've been trying to amend so many laws which has not materialized. So I believe these are the answers I can give you right now. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Harshana. I hope you got all the answers, Ruan. And I can see two people have raised their hands. Fawaz and Indonil. Who would like to go first? I'll let Indonil go first.
Thank you, Fasara, and thank you for speakers providing us very valuable information. Actually, part of my question already answered for the previous question. The other part I want to clarify is there a system to aware and recognize child abuse and how to report and how to raise concern at institution level in Sri Lanka? For example, here, people who working with child or the doctors, nurses, everyone have some kind of mandatory training, how to recognize child abuse and how to raise your concern. And they need to do it yearly or refresh the training. I think most of the school teachers, hospital workers, everywhere. So is there a system like that in Sri Lanka to train people how to recognize child abuse and how to raise their concern and reporting? That's the other part I wanted to ask, actually.
Well, basically, what you are saying is exactly what I was proposing in my speech, the preventive mechanism, because it's pointless getting on with it after the child has been abused. But in Sri Lanka, we have no system of educating school teachers, government officers, village elders. They are the ones who have to be sensitized to be able to detect child abuse, as I said earlier, right? They are the ones who can see a child being neglected, because you cannot have the law in everybody's house. But we do not have any formal program. I myself have taken part as a trainer in the southern part of the country, doing this particular program with Save the Children some time ago. But all those projects that we gave the government, they never take it over. So once the funding for one project is over, it's over. A biggest problem we have at a ground level is that people only know one place to go if there's a problem, either police or the probation officer. So there is no multi-agency or a multidisciplinary unit to approach this. Now, these are the systems that we need to put in place, and it can be done because there are so many government servants. Every government who come into power give job after so many government jobs. So if you take a one divisional secretariat level, there are 30-40 government servants just idling. So we can actually put a program into place. But to answer your question shortly, do we have such a program recognized by the government? No, we don't have that. We don't have that.
Thanks, Harshana. And thank you, Indranil, for asking that question. We were thinking about it as well, that if teachers, because the children open up to the teachers who are very close to them. So if the teachers has been trained about child protection and safeguarding, So I think that will cover that question as well. So next is Fawaz. Would you like to ask your question, please?
Yeah. May I speak in Sinhala regarding this?
Of course.
Sora? Yeah.
අපිට
Okay.
සිංහල පුළුවන් කියන්නේ.
මම අහලා තියෙනවා ස්ටාර්ෂනගේ ස්පීච් එකම. Basically මේ කතාවෙන් මට තේරුම් ගන්න හම්බුණා සරෝජ පොල්රාජ් ඒ මහත්මයාත් කියපු කතා අනුව මෙතන මේකට අපි විසඳුම් හොයන්න ඕනේ කියලා ආර්ථික ප්‍රශ්න තුලින් නීතිමය ප්‍රශ්න තුලින් අවසානයේ කිව්වේ රාජ්‍ය පාලනය වෙනස් කිරීම තුලින් කියලා. එතෙන්දී මම දකින්නේ මේක මේ තුනටම වඩා අපි මේකට විසඳුම් සෙවිය යුත්තේ සමාජීය ප්‍රශ්නයක් වශයෙන්. මේක සමාජීය ප්‍රශ්නයක්. අපි නීතිය ඕන නීතිය මුල් කරගෙන අපිට විසඳුමක් කර යන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක සම්පූර්ණ වෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා මම හිතන්නේ. ඉස්සර දැන් මෙතනදි කතා වුණා දැන් ඇමරිකාවේ දැන් අපි සයින් කරලා තියෙනවා කියලා child abuse ඒව අඩු කරලා කියන්නේ දරුවන්ගේ අයිතිවාසිකම් ආරක්ෂා කරනවා කියලා පනතකට. දැන් ඒ කියන්නේ අවුරුදු 18 වෙනකන් කියන්නේ 18ට අඩු ළමා වියත් ඊට පස්සේ වැඩිහිටි වියත් ඒ ආකාරයට. දැන් එහෙම දැන් ඇමරිකාව ගත්තත් ලෝකේ ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදී කියන රටක් වන ඇමරිකාව ගත්තත් සමහර ප්‍රාන්ත තියෙනවා 18ට අඩු එහෙම ප්‍රාන්ත තියෙනවා. වැඩිවිය කියන්නේ ළමා කාලය බෙදෙන. දැන් මෙතෙන්දී අපි බලන්න ඕන සමාජීය ප්‍රශ්නයක් විදියට. දැන් මම නම් කියන්නේ මෙතෙන්දී තාම අපිට විසඳුමක් හම්බුන්නේ නැහැ මේ දේශපාලනය තුලින්වත් නීතිමය ප්‍රශ්නය තුලින්වත් ආර්ථික ප්‍රශ්න තුලින්වත්. දැන් අපි මේවට කොහොමද ඉදිරියේදී විසඳුම් හොයන්නේ මේව තුලින්. මේක මම නම් කියන්නේ සමාජීය ප්‍රශ්නයක් විදිහට නේද බැලිය යුත්තේ. ඕනෑම අපරාධයක් ගත්තම අපි දන්නවා ඒ වින්දිතයා ඒ වින්දිත බවට ලක් වෙනකොට තිබුණු තත්ත්වය. ඒ කියන්නේ කිසිම ආරක්ෂාවක් නැති තැනක තිබිලා තියෙන්නේ. දැන් ඕනෑම දැන් අපිට ළමයෙක් ගත්තත් ඒ ළමයාගේ ආරක්ෂාව නැති තැන තමයි ඒ ළමයා ඒ තත්ත්වයට පත් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. දැන් විශේෂයෙන් ළමයාගේ ආරක්ෂාව වැඩි දෙමව්පියන් ගාව ඉන්නකොට ඥාතියෙක් ගාව ඉන්නකොට ඊටත් වඩා ආරක්ෂාව අඩුයි. ළමයන් තනියෙන් ඉන්නකොට ඒ අවධානය තවත් වැඩි. දැන් ඕනෑම ළමයෙක් හරි ඕනෑම ලොකු අපරාධයක් හරි වෙන්නේ අවධානාත්මක තත්ත්වයක් වුණු අවස්ථාවකදී. අපි මේව නේද හොඳට ફોකස් කරන්න ඕන. දැන් අපි ආර්ථිකය කතා කරන්න පුළුවන්, නීතිය කතා කරන්න පුළුවන්, රාජ්‍ය පාලනය වෙනස් කරන්න කතා කරන්න පුළුවන්. දැන් මෙතෙන්දි කතා වුණා දැන් ධනේශ්වර ක්‍රමයේදී තමයි මේව වෙන්නේ කියලා. ඔය ඇත්ත. මම නම් කියන්නේ ඊට වඩා අඩුයි ඊට කොමියුනිස්ටෝ මොන මාක්ස්වාදේ වුණත් ඊට වඩා අඩු වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ වුණාට ඒ ටිකක් අඩුවීම තමයි වෙන්නේ. අපිට හොඳ පැහැදිලි වෙනස්කමකට ලක් කරන්න බෑ නේද? දැන් ඒක තමයි කියන්නේ මගේ ක්වෙස්චන් එක ඇවිල්ලා මේක සමාජීය ප්‍රශ්නයක් තුලින් නේද අපි විසඳිය යුත්තේ. ඒකයි මගේ අන්තිම ප්‍රශ්නය. බොහොම ස්තුතියි.
Saroja, would you like to answer that?
No, you can answer, Harshana.
All right, okay, fine. Okay. දැන් මෙහෙමයි මේක සමාජ ප්‍රශ්නයක් තමයි. මේක සමාජ ප්‍රශ්නයක්, මේක දේශපාලන ප්‍රශ්නයක්, මේක ආර්ථික ප්‍රශ්නයක්. මේ ඔක්කොම වැටෙන්නේ එකට. දැන් ඔබතුමා හරියටම කිව්වා ළමයා දෙමව්පියොත් එක්ක නැතිකොට අනාරක්ෂිතයි කියලා. ඒක හරි. දැන් බලන්න ලංකාව. අම්මයි තාත්තයි දෙන උදේ වැඩට යනවා. අම්මා 5ට ගෙදර ආවත් සමහර විට තාත්තා 5ට ගෙදර ඇවිල්ලා තාත්තා රෑ 9 වෙනකල් ඌබර් එකක් දුවනවා. සමහරට අම්මත් දෙව්ඩි රස්සාවට යනවා. ළමයා තනියම හෝ කාත් එක්ක හරි ඉන්නට ඕන. මොකද මේ දෙන්නම වැඩ කරේ නැත්තම් කාලා බීලා බෙහෙත් අරගෙන ජීවත් වෙන්න බෑ. හරිද? දැන් එතකොට ළමයා යම් ප්‍රමාණයක අනාරක්ෂිත වෙනවනේ. දැන් ඒක සමාජ ප්‍රශ්නයක්, ඒක ආර්ථික ප්‍රශ්නයක්, සහ ඒක දේශපාලන ප්‍රශ්නයක්. අපි දේශපාලනය කියන වචනේ පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ පක්ෂ දේශපාලනය හඳුන්වන්න නෙමෙයි. මාක්ස්වාදය හෝ ධනවාදය හඳුන්වන්න නෙමෙයි. නමුත් දේශපාලනය කියන එක අපේ ජීවිතේ හැම තීන්දුවකටම බලපාන. අද මේ රටේ ජීවන වියදම අරන් බැලුවොත් ඒ මුදල හොයාගන්න අම්මලා තාත්තලා කොච්චර වැඩ කරන්නට ඕනද? එතකොට ඒගොල්ලන්ට රජයෙන් කිසිම සහායක් නැහැ. එතකොට ඔබතුමා කියප එක හරි. මේක සමාජ ප්‍රශ්නයක්. නමුත් විසඳුම තියෙන්නේ නිවැරදි දේශපාලන දරපොත. අපේ රටේ සල්ලි නැතුව නෙමෙයිනේ. අපි ඩේ කෙයාර් සෙන්ටර්ස් හරියට මේ රටේ තිබ්බනම් අම්මලා තාත්තලාට පුළුවන් තමන්ගේ දරුවන්ව ආරක්ෂිතව තියලා රස්සාවට යන්න. අද ගොඩාක් කාන්තාවන්ට මේ රටේ රස්සාවකට යන්න බැරි මේ දරුවෝගේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. දරුවෝ බලා ගන්න කවුරුත්. එතකොට අපිට පුළුවන් නම් ග්‍රාම සේවා මට්ටම් වලින්, දිස්ත්‍රික් ලේකම් මට්ටම් වලින් රජයේ ආරක්ෂාව තියෙන ඩේ කෙයාර් සෙන්ටර්ස් ටිකක් හදාගන්න. එහෙනම් ළමයාත් ආරක්ෂිත වෙනවා. ඒ අම්මත් අදාළ සමාන ඒක එතන තමයි වැඩේ තියෙන්නේ. ඉතින් ඔබතුමා කියන එක හරි. මේක සමාජ ප්‍රශ්නයක්. හැබැයි දේශපාලන ආර්ථික ප්‍රශ්නකුත් තියෙනවා. මම කලින් කිව්ව එක දෙයක්. මේ රටේ ඇති වෙන්න සල්ලි තියෙනවා. මේ රට දුප්පත් රටක් නෙමෙයි. මේ රට කොල්ල කෑමකට ලක් වෙච්ච රටක්. ඒක නිසා කවුරු හරි කියනවා මේ රට සල්ලි නැහැ කියලා මම අහන්න එක දෙයක්. එහෙනම් කොහොමද අපේ දේශපාලනඥයෝ මෙතන සල්ලි තියෙන්නේ? සල්ලි දෙන්න විදියක් නැහැ. ඉතින් ඒක නිසා මේවට වියදම් කරන්න මුදල් අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. ඒ මුදල් වියදම් කරන්න වෙන් කරන එකත් ඇත්තෙම දේශපාලන තීන්දුවක්. ඒ නිසා මම ඔබ කියන එකට එකඟයි. මේක සමාජයයි, දේශපාලනයි, ආර්ථිකයි. විසඳන්න වෙන්නේ ඒ විදියටම තමයි. එපමණයි මගේ උත්තර.
Thank you, Harshana. I'm going to let Janita ask. She has a question here about online abuse.
Yeah, I don't know if we touched on about, nowadays every child, wherever they live, especially because of the COVID lockdown, everyone has a mobile phone, everyone has access to online social media. And I know recently there were cases in Sri Lanka where children were abused in gangs. By different people, even living abroad in different countries. I wondered what your solution or suggestion regarding that issue.
Well, basically, we have a serious problem with regard to cybercrime, cyberbullying, and sexual exploitation of children using cyber platforms. So we are yet to come across or rather implement laws with regard to cybercrime. But however, we have a separate unit now in the Central Investigation CID in Sri Lanka. You can make a complaint with regard to cyber crimes, especially exploitation and actually mainly blackmailing. And because some of these girls talk to strangers and boys also, they talk to strangers and share their nude pictures and which later get used. Sometimes a boyfriend who broken up with the girlfriend. So yes, there's a serious problem, but still we have to rely on the sections of the penal code with regard to obscene publications, indecent assault, sexual harassment, and other related offenses. We have to rely on the penal code using the cyber platform. We have been battling it, but yes, it's a menace, a massive menace. Again, the problem is where is a lack of attention by the parents with regard to what the children are doing. I know it's not easy, but a government can put millions of laws. Right? Let's assume the best government comes into power and put 1 million of laws. But the children will not be protected if parents are not paying enough attention. It is as simple as that. It's true for England, it's true for America, it's true for Sri Lanka. You can have the best of laws. So yes, we have a problem with cybercrime. Yes, I wish there was a better response with better laws in this country. But believe me, we are we are not up to speed on that. So yeah, that's my thing. Thank you.
Thank you. So just I was thinking, as general public, what can we do, or people in Sri Lanka, to bring this law into action? Because there are laws you were saying, but the government is not actually following them, and then people are sort of lost. So that's the main reason. So what can, as general public, can do to bring those laws back to action?
I don't want to sound like being a politician here, but if you can elect people to the parliament who has passed at least their O levels and A levels, at least, right? And people who care for the people, These are not difficult laws to be brought in. What can the public do? They're not enacting laws. The parliament is there for that. But now it does not happen. So what you sow is what you reap. So yes, we need these laws. Yes, we need visionary thinkers, visionary parliamentarians who understand the topic, who understand the subject. Only then they will promote these laws. But right now, we have an amazing civil service. We have a lot of intelligent and educated people. We have amazing professionals. But the parliament, where it matters, are full of, mutts, selfish mutts. So if the people, what they can do, appoint a government that actually care about the people. That'll work.
Thank you, Harshana. I'll take the
Yeah.
next, please. Thank you,
Okay.
Harshana.
Hello. Thank you, Harshana and Saroja, for session. And thank you, Women for Rights, for organizing a much needed topic. My question is about changing social attitudes. I have kind of circumstantial evidence. It says in some sections of the society, people just don't kind of agree with this child protection values. I mean, they don't agree with the values. For example, one would say, of course, if the children from the plantations come and work in Colombo, their sibling will go hungry. So it's a good thing. In a way, I know they say it is bad, but look at the good side of it. Make their sibling survive through the money they're sending. And the other thing is, and some people say, so I get kind of approached maybe sexually, especially for boys. They say it doesn't matter. They'll forget about it. It's a part of growing up. My question is, how do we change these attitudes? I mean, you can change attitudes. People have changed attitudes since 1970s. Smoking has gone down. Environmental protection attitudes have changed. Seat belt wearing, motor car safety has improved a little. So that way, what is the policy, or what is the campaign? What's the modus operandi that you, Women for Rights, or whatever the organization is, can do to kind of change these social attitudes among people? Thank you. Either Saroja or Harshana can choose to answer the question.
I can start the answer a little bit, but thereafter, I believe Women for Rights as well as Saroja would add where I have not covered. First and foremost, you rightly identified these are to be wrong attitudes. That's very correct. In fact, taking a child because the child's other family siblings could eat shows how failed we are as a government if we have to send children to earn food. That's pathetic. So you are correct to identify that as a very wrong attitude. And also, we have, well, it's boys, so sexually no problem, they don't get pregnant. Again, another wrong attitude. Good that at least you know there is a wrong attitude, but that is available in the village level. So actually, this can be attacked through two fronts. One is education. Secondly, laws to back. You spoke about smoking. When people started going against smoking, right, the law came banning public smoking much later. But the social conditioning was there not to smoke in the public, not to smoke inside buses, not to smoke inside cinemas. People were complaining about it anyway. So the social conditioning came before the law, and the law kind of solidified it. Now there's a justification. So therefore, firstly, I believe we have to fight these attitudes. Now, I've been working in the child protection scene from year 2004 at least. And those days, it was normal in this country that the parents could beat a child up. Nobody would even make a complaint. But now the NCPA hotline rings the moment they see anybody hitting a child. In 2005, we brought banning corporal punishment in this country in 2005. So teachers can't use the cane anymore. in this country, at least in law. In law, they can't. So now teachers and parents, they cannot hit children, right? I mean, not to say that every person get arrested and put behind bars, but attitudes are changing. Why are they changing? Because we've been bringing in new laws and backing it. So two fronts: education, awareness. I think what Women's Rights doing today on this platform is the same. Yes. And one thing for sure is that Sri Lankan parents have changed a lot. They do not, if they want to beat up their child, they will never do it in public anymore. They won't, because they call now, right? And caning, we had so many teachers who've been prosecuted for cruelty to children. Remember, we do not charge almost everybody for one shot, but there are instances. So when I was doing an education program, most of the participants who were teachers and school principals, they got up and left when I said that you should not be using the cane to discipline children. You should not use physical violence to discipline children. So things are happening, but would have preferred it moving a little faster. That is my answer, unless Saroja and others have something to add to it.
Yeah, I think I had to add little thing. I have to mention two more things for that. First, in Sri Lanka, we are not ready to give correct recognition for children. It means I think in school also they think that school in a school level, principal and teachers are in their home also. Parents also think they as a secondary persons. It means they do not give their values for children, and they can't make correct decision for them. So I think the main thing is correct recognition for children. Who's the children? They have attitudes and they have values and they have qualities and they have talents. These things, these children, they have their own ideas also, but they can't express their ideas in the public ways, in public places. And what they want to do, they have no place to do it in Sri Lanka. That one also a main problem in Sri Lanka, as well as I think another one in our cultural belief, cultural and cultural obligations also. It is a little difficult to change. It means whatever we believe, that is there are so many mites also in our country. In recently also there are so many harassments happens. There are so many harassments and this type of things happen in the religious places also. So, but we believe it should be, these all things are we should hide that all things in religious places and in other in that our religious monks or that kind of people, we should hide that things. Lot of mites also affect us to there are so many mice that we can't overcome this situation. So I think these two also I can include. However, there are big problems in our cultural there are in our cultural sector, and as well as education and our this. I think as a Women for Right organization, we should change that moral values also. We should change our moral values also. I think Tusita mentioned like that many things in there here. So it is very difficult thing, but we are trying to do this in our through our organization. This one also awareness program to entering that path. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All the best to Women for Rights.
Thank you, Saroja and Harshana, and thanks, Tusita, for your question. And I think the last person here is Zambrut. Would you like to ask your question, please?
Hello. Thank you very much, Fasmara. And Thank you very much. Like, it's very nice speaking to you all, listening to you all. It was like very informative. I work in Sri Lanka as well as here as a psychologist. So I deal with lots of children and parents. And what I understand is parents don't understand about when you answered earlier, like, you know, it's a parental responsibility when they use like electronic equipment for those children. Parents don't understand anything about it, what is going around, and they don't have knowledge about it. As well as there is a parental security you have to use, which they never know about it. Is there a parental security? When I asked from them, they said, is there a parental security? I have to use it. Kind of that kind of a question. So how I mean, here, like what happens in UK, like in schools, when a child is like, you know, starting to use the electronic equipment or like, you know, whatever, like, you know, made kind of like electronic stuff, they like, you know, introduce to parents, like educate parents. There is a parental security you have to use and things like that. Do you guys do that? I know you don't do that. So do you guys think about doing that? That's a question of mine. And then again, like, you know, abuses, like whatever all the abuses you said, it is there in Sri Lanka, which I know only today. When I spoke to parents and like, you know, educators in Sri Lanka, they never know about it. But how are you going to like, you know, implement that within the parents? How are you educate them on that? That's my second question. And the third question is whether all these like service providers, especially teachers and the people who deal with like, you know, children, are they checked for criminal offenses? That is, here we use as DBS. And do you all use any of that when you provide like, you know, jobs for them, or like, you know, on the middle kind of, here we do it every 3 years. Do you do that? How does it work? Those are my 3 questions. And I'm really happy to like, you know, hear you all. You're all very informative, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Saroja, shall I answer that one?
Yeah, Harshana. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. 1 second, please. Right. Sorry. Yes, to answer your question, the question number 1, parental security. Yes, it's a very common software. It's available. But some parents know about it, but they feel they should not put it on for some reason. But what you are asking, the question is a policy one. Is the government taking any steps to educate parents about using proper software for parental security software on mobiles to prevent children from using it? At a state level, no. Individual parents do, depending on the money they have and especially the level of education. Now, most of the parents here, I think, some of them do not even know how to use a smartphone, some parents. So obviously, they can always pretend that they are working or doing something. So, I mean, I feel sorry for the parents. But again, this happens, I'm sure, as a psychologist who understand the attachment theory, where you get the children to open up to you. So when the children don't open up, this tend to happen. So to answer your question, probably your question was focused whether we have a policy of that nature. We have the technology. The government has not got themselves involved in advising parents in any way with regard to that. Now, the second question for me to answer, can you please repeat your second question for me, because I kind of didn't get the question properly. Educating parents. What do you mean by educating parents? Can you?
I'm not really saying about educating just parent. I'm about the child abusers, like, you know, whatever the abusers in Sri Lanka. Educating, right. Even I speak to a lot of teachers. I mean, as I told you, I work here and in Sri Lanka as well online and deal with children and all kind of people around. So right. When I speak to them, they don't understand how an abuser going to like touch me, but how am I going? How he is going to like, you know, speak to me. All kind of information, even a parent doesn't know. Then how are they going to teach the child?
Exactly, a very valid point. This is a program that some time ago the child right promotion officers we went to school with campaigns and posters and educating children uh, with various charts and pictures, and a program was carried out some time ago. What kind of touching is permitted? What kind of touching could be an abuse? So we were doing it a lot for children, but I have not seen it being done for parents in any coordinated manner. Now, having said that, our parents must understand that there are more there are at least 15,000 child abuse cases reported a year, compared to the murders that is reported in this country is less than 6,000. So you obviously see that we have a serious issue. One thing is the rising numbers, and the rising numbers, a reason for the rising numbers is not that they're committed, but there's better awareness, so people come forward to complain more. That could explain the reason. So about this child abuse, most of the parents, I mean, will not know how it happens, simply because many parents don't spend much time with their children talking about their needs. For an example, if a child comes home and say, I can't go to that teacher, I don't like him, the parents' minds are not geared to think, why is the child saying no? Why is the child refusing to go there? Parents must have, I mean, we had so many instances. In some of my cases, I did young monks, or not young monks, these are abityas, the little ones who help the lay child, who help monks. They run away from temples. So the police go arrest the fellow and say, oh, what a nice, good monk you're with. Why are you running away? You must have stolen something, and hand over the child back to the temple where the child is being abused. So yes, we do have problems about that educational situation. So that is.
Can I interrupt you a minute, please?
Yes, go on.
What I
Go
was
on.
trying to say is, like, as you early said, like a child never open up, like if the child is abused, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah.
They don't do that. So
Correct.
if you don't educate the teachers, and if you don't educate the parents, and if the parents, if you don't educate the parents, they will not speak to their children, isn't it?
Correct.
So,
correct.
and the child has to open up. If the child knows that my mother and father knows about it. Do you understand?
I understand
If
that.
a child knows that, yes, it is my parents knows that, so I can speak to them and
Yeah.
open up a bit. Otherwise, they will not open at all. Even if
Yeah.
they come, I mean, when the child come to me, like for the psychologist, we give lot of supports and everything. After that, also they don't open all those
Yeah.
things. It takes such
Correct.
a long time. So you need to, I guess, even though like you speak in the school and things like that, I guess you have to educate first parents.
Agreed. I agree.
Okay,
That's
thank
very
you very
correct.
much.
I agree with that, because one of the main strategies of prevention is education and awareness. And it has to start with parents, then school teachers, then whomever the professionals and caregivers who handle children, and the children themselves, because children tend to open up to one of their friends far better with a problem than to an adult. So even children. So you are correct. We have to do that. So I believe I agree with your suggestion. And if you ask me the question, do we have such a program in operation at the moment? The answer is no. Now coming back to a third question, that is about these people who are convicted of crimes and abuses, about their jobs. You are spot on with that one, because we don't have a central database of convicted pedophiles. This country doesn't have it. We proposed it, but there's no such central database. In fact, between the crime and then he gets bailed out, he's out in society, and the case takes about 10 years to be heard, or 5-6 years to be heard. During that time, he can shift from one province to another province and start working in a children's home. So yes, problems are twofold. One, we do not have a system of a database of recording convicted pedophiles, number one. Secondly, because of the time taken from the date of the incident till the end of the trial is about 5, 6, 7 years, they can continue to carry on their abuses elsewhere from the village that they know. So yes, you're right, we do not have a mechanism. So there's a good possibility some potential abusers are shifting jobs and carrying on with their stuff, simply because we don't have a central database which has to be created, as well as the time period between an offense committed and a conviction has to be less than 1 year. Otherwise, no child is ever safe. So those are my answers to your questions. Thank you.
One more thing to add there, Harshana. That
Yes, please, Saroja.
yes.
Yes, please.
I think we should ask employers to provide family-friendly work environment for that also. So it means we can ask our local and national lawmakers to support to this family supportive environment on their working places, because
Of course.
yeah,
Of course.
I think I think I should mention there that we as a Women for Rights, we also urge to pay their attention to these issues. Employers to provide family-friendly work environment. Otherwise, that parents, especially the mothers can't take their children for their working places on, and they can't keep their home also. So that also our demand.
So that is very correct, Saroja, because I think I was explaining that earlier. I agree with you.
Yeah.
We must provide, I mean, what I suggested was government taking over some form of daycare so the woman can go to work. But as a part of corporate social responsibility, or CSR, as these companies call it, they can always have a place like a creche where you keep your child and go to work and come back. And in fact, if you do that, the mother is at ease and you will have a better employee, a more productive worker who knows that the child is safe. So I think that's a fabulous idea. And I think we can push at least these big corporations and companies to do that. And I think we should do that.
Thank you,
Saroja.
Okay, Harshana.
Do you mind if I ask another question? Don't know whether I'm taking too much of time of yours. Is it okay?
If the organizers say there is enough time, there is enough time.
Zamrud, can you make it quick, please? Because there's another person waiting for a long time as well, and we're out of time. Thank you.
Yes, I will make it faster. Thank you very much. Well, what I was asking is like if there is a website or any or like contact person where you can find all those information you were saying.
What kind of information?
I mean, you were saying there's a law, and these are well, earlier I've heard like one of you were saying there's a place you can call and inform and things like that.
Yes.
None of the people like I speak, they don't know anything about it.
There are two places you should look at. If you are looking at from there, look at the National Child Protection Authority website, NCPA. Their website will have all those emergency numbers. The other one you should be looking, I don't know how useful it is, but the Department of Probation and Child Care, right? That is one website. The other one is Sri Lanka Police. Look at the Women's and Children's Bureau. Women's and Children's Bureau of the Police Department. They will be on web. National Child Protection Authority and the Department of Probation. These are the three places where there is information. If at all, these are the three places.
Okay, thank you very much. It's very nice to hear you all.
Thank you.
You can have your time now. Sorry for keeping you waiting. And make it quick, please.
I'll be very quick. I think we all agree that in Sri Lanka, safeguarding children is at a fairly infantile level. Now, I heard some of you guys mentioning things like ordination of priests, Buddhist priests, and child marriages. Now, in my view, yes, they are bordering on safeguarding issues. But if you try to drag them as well into safeguarding children, your direction will go entirely differently, because I'm sure there are politicians who will drag it as a religious issue. So should we not shelve some of these religious issues to a side until you have a very good safeguarding background and then tackle those problems later?
Well, actually, I'm so happy you said that, because I'm so happy you said that, because I am of the same view, because we can't fight wars on all fronts. we must pick and choose the battle. So yes, there's a common consensus for underage marriage. Even within the Muslim community, underage marriage, they are upset about it. So therefore, they have brought new Muslim Marriages and Divorce Act amendments. People have been working, scholars. So we will be able to stamp out on the marriage issue. But ordaining of children is an issue that has to be dealt far more carefully, because otherwise it might backfire on all the good things that we are trying to do. However, policy-wise, we are not in agreement for depriving a child of their childhood simply because they are poor, being sent to this. But when I work as a committee member of the National Child Rights Monitoring Committee of Sri Lanka. So when I raised it there among the top professionals, even they were opposing to it at that point in time. But however, in Buddhism, there's a particular sutra where the Buddha has spoken. I will try to get them across, where he says you only ordain children. I will say it in Sinhalese. Sinhalin කියපු නිසා කාක්කෙක්ව බය කරන්න ගලක් උස්සලා ගහන්න පුළුවන් වයසේ දරුවෙක්ව තමයි මහාන කරන්නේ කියලා. So obviously, even in the original scripts, there was a particular age given. I think the best approach is we get all the Buddhist monks to get together and come up with a regulatory mechanism without completely banning it. Because if you try to completely ban it, I know Saroja might not agree with me. Even I don't agree with myself sometimes, simply because it's only a strategy I'm suggesting. Strategy must be whatever you can't ban without causing a problem, best thing is to monitor and regulate. So we have to come up with a short-term solution, but in the long run, I'm in full agreement. These children being sent to being preached, depriving their childhood is something that we should address. But Mr. Soisa, I agree with you. We should not be opening up battlefronts on too many fronts. The battles. I agree with you.
And thank you so much.